a prominent conservative activist, Charlie Kirk, gunned down while speaking at a college campus in Utah.
It was crazy. There's just bodies going everywhere, everyone running.
What we're learning about the search for the shooter and how the country can put an end to this disturbing trend of violent attacks against political leaders.
That kind of thinking out in the public can create a climate of acceptance for violence.
Plus, state and South Bay Democrats pushing to ban law enforcement from covering their faces. We're going to meet a legal immigrant in San Jose who says the masks create even more chaos and fear in his community.
It feels like a knot in my belly. Like every time that even when I get there and it's not them.
And later, Oakland could become the latest Bay Area city to aggressively step up homeless sweeps. We'll hear from advocates on both sides of a new proposal working its way through City Hall.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
And good evening. We begin with the deadly shooting of right-wing political activist Charlie Kirk. Kirk was a staunch Trump ally who led a group focused on promoting conservative values on college campuses. He was shot and killed today during an event at Utah Valley University. He had been invited there by a student group. Investigators believe the single shot was fired from a campus building about 200 yards from him. Kirk was on campus as part of his American Comeback Tour, where he debates controversial political issues with the audience. Witnesses at the event described what they saw.
As soon as he was hit, he fell backwards, went to the side. The audience went to their knees. I stayed up a little bit because I wanted to see if anyone saw the shooting, if they would jump all over the guy.
Charlie hit the ground. We saw him fall, but it looks like the shot came and it hit, he was facing us, and it looks like it hit the left side of his neck.
Everyone freaked out and screamed, and then after everyone was leaving, there was just a lot of confusion until the cops started making everyone leave.
There's a lot of rapidly changing information. Authorities are still searching for a suspect in this shooting. The FBI director said in the last hour a person who was taken into custody following the shooting has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement. The Utah Commissioner of Public Safety spoke about the investigation so far.
We do still have an active investigation for the person of interest. While the suspect is at large, we believe this was a targeted attack towards one individual.
Again, authorities say they do not have anyone currently in custody and are looking for a new person of interest. Kirk led the political organization Turning Point USA and helped rally the Gen Z vote for President Trump in the 2024 election. He was 31 years old. Reaction is pouring in from across the political spectrum, condemning the violence. President Trump has ordered all U.S. flags to be lowered to half-staff until Sunday. And he also posted on Truth Social, saying in part, quote, "The great, even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. He was loved and admired by all, especially me. And now he is no longer with us." Trump also offered his sympathies to Kirk's wife, Erica, and his family. And Governor Gavin Newsom said this on X: "The attack on Charlie Kirk is disgusting, vile, and reprehensible. In the United States of America, we must reject political violence in every form." So Charlie Kirk and his conservative group, Turning Point USA, appeared at San Francisco State University just this past May. It was part of a tour of college campuses around the country. He hosts a Prove Me Wrong table, inviting people in the audience with opposite views to debate him. And it drew in hundreds of people, including protesters. Kirk also hosted a similar event at UC Berkeley in 2023. It was hosted indoors, but there were protesters outside. Now, the governor of Utah is calling the shooting a political assassination, and it comes after a string of attacks against political figures over the past several years. Kenny Choi spoke to a leading researcher on gun violence and has more on this troubling political climate across the country.
From the assassination attempts of President Trump during the 2024 campaign to June of this year, when 2 Minnesota lawmakers were shot and killed, high-profile incidents of political violence in the country have become prevalent.
The incidents are an outcome, if you will, of an increased level of polarization in the United States, of pro-violence rhetoric on the part of elected officials.
Dr. Garen Wintemute is director of the UC Davis Violence Prevention Research Program.
The vast majority of Americans wholly reject political violence as a way of resolving our disputes.
Wintemute and researchers have studied data and conducted national surveys on political violence since 2022. In those annual surveys, about 30% of adults believe that physical violence is usually or always justified to advance at least one political purpose.
That kind of thinking out in the public can create a climate of acceptance for violence that makes it easier for violence to happen.
San Mateo Board of Supervisor and former Congresswoman Jackie Speer, who was shot 5 times during the 1978 Jonestown tragedy, spoke about the shooting death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
He was a young man with a point of view that had a lot of followers, and now he's been silenced. And it's more than a tragedy. It is a violation of all the principles that this country is based on.
Dr. Wintemute cautions against this type of violence becoming commonplace.
We have got to reverse that climate of acceptance. We simply have to create a climate in the United States, a culture in the United States that rejects violence.
According to the UC Davis Violence Prevention Research Program, firearm violence results in approximately 30,000 deaths a year and approximately 75,000 non-fatal injuries seen in hospital emergency departments. Stay with us for updates on this rapidly developing story all night, on air and streaming on the CBS News app. Immigration raids in the state of California have continued to cause outcry, especially because ICE agents cover their faces with masks. So Democrats across California are pushing to ban law enforcement from masking up. One proposal was just approved unanimously by the San Jose City Council's Rules Committee, hours after city leaders rallied in front of the City Hall Rotunda to advocate for the ban. So they say that this is necessary for residents to feel safe. Our Lauren Toms has more.
Not a day goes by that Misraim Mendoza isn't carrying his green card, but it wasn't always that way.
If you look like me, you speak like me, get ready to show you green card.
He's a legal immigrant from Mexico, now advocating for the rights of undocumented residents in the South Bay. But as federal immigration agents step up arrests, often wearing masks, Mendoza says it takes a physical toll.
It feels like a knot in my belly. Like every time that even when I get there and it's not them and it's the police, it's just like, it's very depressing, like the way we going.
Masked officers are exactly what San Jose leaders want to prevent. They've introduced a new measure that would prohibit ICE agents from masking up in the city.
ICE has the responsibility of enforcing our immigration laws, but that does not and should not require that they violate anyone's constitutional rights.
The debate has reached Sacramento, where Senator Scott Wiener is pushing the No Secret Police Act to ban face coverings for federal and local law enforcement.
We're not trying to change how normal policing works. We want that to continue. But people running around wearing ski masks and grabbing people, throwing them in the unmarked cars, that's not normal. That is fascism. And it's terrifying, and it must stop.
The bill makes some exceptions for SWAT teams and undercover assignments, and it would not apply to the CHP. But police associations say it goes too far. Brian Marvel with the Peace Officers Research Association argues local officers are being punished for a federal fight.
I think by and large, if you look at most of your local law enforcement officers that are out there working hard every day to protect their communities, they're not wearing masks. Again, I want to reiterate, this is about the feds and not about the locals. And we're unfortunately having been put in the middle.
But the state's authority on banning masks for ICE agents could be limited under the U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause, which could trigger legal challenges.
Once they're excluded from this bill is now just for local officers.
Still, for Mendoza, the fight isn't about legal theory.
We feel like being hunted, you know, and this is a life-threatening matter.
The state bill comes with some penalties for offending officers. They could be charged with misdemeanors or fined up to $10,000. The Assembly passed it yesterday, and it's now working its way through the state Senate. It must be approved by the end of the week when the legislative year ends. Back in June, dozens of congressional Democrats introduced a similar bill in the House of Representatives, but that's almost certainly going nowhere as long as Republicans control Congress and the White House. President Trump's border czar has said in the past that ICE agents need to wear masks to hide their identities because their families are being attacked. All right, let's turn to weather now, shall we? Another day with scattered showers. The far North Bay, even seeing some thunderstorms. Here's a live look from San Francisco and Mount Diablo. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Paul Hagan, who's been tracking the, do we call it moisture?
Yeah, we call it humid outside once again today, but that's going to change beginning tomorrow. What we've seen on the first alert Doppler over the past hour or so is the majority of the shower and even thunderstorm activity has been in the far North Bay, just kind of skirting along the northern borders of Sonoma and Napa counties. The bulk of the shower and thunderstorm activity has been up in Mendocino and Lake counties throughout the afternoon. But there was enough rain for far northern Napa County that there was a flood advisory this afternoon. Elsewhere, just a few sprinkles, patches of drizzle here and there. That remains possible as we head through the rest of tonight, but beginning tomorrow, we get into a progressively drier pattern, and things are going to heat up as we head into next week. I've got the full forecast in just a few minutes.
Paul, thank you. Still ahead here at 6, some Oakland leaders proposing an aggressive crackdown against homeless encampments, why the council member leading the charge says it is necessary, and how local advocates are pushing back. Plus, why a Walnut Creek bowling alley suddenly shut down less than a year after it first opened. And later. I want one. A much different sort of pet up for adoption. Oh, it's up for adoption on the peninsula. We'll introduce you to Checkers the pig and how you could take him home, unless I do. We just learned the identities of all 6 people killed in a crash in Napa County. The suspected DUI crash happened Sunday along Pope Valley Road when a minivan went off the roadway and collided with a tree. 8 men were in the vehicle, 6 died at the scene, and 2 were injured, including the driver. Officers said none of the victims had identification on them at the time of the crash, but the Napa County Coroner's Office said it has now identified all of the victims who were farm workers from the Stockton area. 2 of the names released yesterday and the remaining 4 today. They were Aaron Ruiz, Beymar Reynosa Rodriguez, Demetrio Celerino Francisco, and Pedro Lopez Gomez. The driver, identified as Norberto Celerino, he was arrested at the hospital and he faces several charges, including 6 counts of murder. Authorities said that Celerino had been convicted of DUI 3 times and was on probation at the time of the crash. In Oakland, homeless advocates are protesting a new ordinance under consideration at City Hall. They rallied against a proposal to adopt stricter homeless encampment rules. So Councilmember Ken Houston wants to eliminate the city's requirement to offer shelter when shutting down encampments. Among other things, the plan would also allow the city to close camps without notice. Vehicles in violation of the city code would be towed, and people who return and reestablish a camp within 60 days could be cited or arrested. Houston says it's time for bold action.
This is where I grew up. This is where my mother raised. This is where I walked to school every day. Every day. And it did not look like this. We did not have to do this.
But advocates say the Get Tough policy violates state rules and could put state funding at risk.
Suddenly, there's all this urgency after years of resistance and delays to plans that would actually house people. This policy will undermine our ability to work with the county and the state to do that. It threatens our access to the funding we need to provide that kind of housing.
Houston says his plan is in line with last year's Supreme Court ruling that found cities do have the authority to prohibit camping and sleeping on public property. Oakland's full city council will address the matter later this month. Boy, it was a scare for passengers on a flight headed to San Francisco. Pilots had to return to Philadelphia after a bird strike just after takeoff. The American Airlines flight took off at 7 this morning and hit a flock of birds. The pilots called in the emergency and landed without any trouble. The plane is undergoing an inspection. Passengers were put on another flight that arrived safely at SFO. All right, now to Walnut Creek, where the Pinstripes Bowling Alley has shut down less than a year after it first opened. So signs were posted on the front door of the location in the Broadway Plaza saying it's permanently closed. The company posted a message on its social media that it filed for Chapter 2 bankruptcy. We talked to people in Walnut Creek who said they were sad to see it go, but they actually weren't surprised.
It's nice to have kind of a place where people can come hang out, but it's an expensive piece of real estate. So if you don't have the traffic, it makes sense why it would close down.
The company said gift cards and event deposits will be honored at other locations. The only other pinstripes in the Bay Area is in San Mateo. Coming up, Levi Stadium is counting down to the World Cup next summer. How you can get yourself a chance at securing tickets. All right, let's get to weather. TMI, but that's usually what I do, a little too much information. But we have this brown spot in the front of our lawn, and I got to tell you, I was kind of glad that there was some rain today just to kind of
Just a little bit.
nail it down there and get that spot taken care of.
And actual rain has more nutrients for your lawn than just, gardening or like the sprinkler system.
That clearly wasn't working either.
Yes.
So, okay, well, good.
Yeah, we have to wait another couple months maybe for the next rain chance, but we'll see how that shakes out. And we still have a couple little leftover showers left on First Alert Doppler right now, mainly in the North Bay. And you have to look all the way up to the top of the map here to find the more substantial rainfall. Really, for far northern Napa County and far northern Sonoma County, the bulk of the action, as I mentioned before the break, has been concentrated more in Mendocino and Lake counties. A few hit or miss showers elsewhere. It's not completely dry, but these are largely going to fall off the map as we head through the rest of tonight. Here's a look at the Futurecast radar simulation as we head through tonight into early tomorrow morning. And you see those hit or miss showers becoming much more miss and gone entirely as we head through mid-morning tomorrow. And the moisture that's been fueling that shower chance is also starting to diminish already. It has been muggy for the past couple of days with the dew point numbers at or above 60. Now we've retreated down to the upper 50s in most locations. Still a few spots holding on to a little bit more of that humidity, but those numbers are going to continue trending down towards more tolerable levels as we head through the rest of tonight and into tomorrow. A little bit of sunshine trying to peek through the clouds over the bay. Temperatures are a mix of 60s and 70s right now. At least we've had below average temperatures to go along with that noticeable humidity. If we had temperatures in the 80s and the mugginess, it would be downright unpleasant, but fortunately that has not been the case. We are going to see plenty of that cloud cover and fog as we head through the rest of tonight. A pretty gray start to the day on Thursday. But once the sun comes up, it's not going to take too long for the sun to start to break through. We will see more sunshine inland tomorrow compared to today. Around the bay and along the coast, it's going to take a little while after the sun comes up for that fog and low cloud cover to start to break up. So temperatures will be slow to warm up near the water. It's going to be another day with temperatures running several degrees below average, but closer to what's normal for this time of year. Highs reaching the mid to upper 70s in the Santa Clara Valley. That's still running about 7 degrees below normal in San Jose. Similar departure from average for most of the East Bay. We're talking about 81 degrees in Concord. The average is 86, so we'll be close to that. Temperatures mostly in the 70s around the bay with still upper 60s to near 70-degree high temperatures along the coast. And then the North Bay with decreasing clouds will hit the mid to upper 70s and some of the warmest spots cracking 80 degrees. But there is some heat a little bit farther down the line in the extended forecast. We'll switch to the wider scale map here and look at the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. And it's a strong signal towards warmer than normal temperatures. In fact, inland heat likely to return as we head through much of next week. And even the 8 to 14 day outlook from the same agency continues that trend towards above normal temperatures for most of that 2-week time frame. So it's going to take a little while for our temperatures to back down once they start to warm up again. Here's the trend over the next 7 days. Inland, we see a return to near normal temperatures by Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then there's the heat building back in. Low to mid 90s on an average basis inland, which means the hottest spots are likely to approach 100 degrees, especially by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Temperatures bayside won't warm up as much. We don't lose the onshore influence the way it looks at this point. But the last 3 days of the 7-day forecast, those are the part of the forecast that could go either way. If we do get a light offshore wind developing, then these bayside and coastal temperatures could easily rise up another 5 to 10 degrees on top of what we're already forecasting. So coastal temperatures at this point, looks like we're just going to get up into the middle portion of the 70s by Tuesday and Wednesday. But if that offshore wind develops, then we could be up to around or above 80 degrees even at the coast.
Ooh.
It's that time of year, September, we usually don't associate with the showers we've seen the past couple of days, but coastal heat, that's more typical.
Yeah, we were kind of in our gray mood
we're
today.
Just dressing for the clouds.
All right. Coming up, we're going to introduce you to this pot-bellied pig. Needs a forever home. Here's a look at what's ahead on the CBS Evening News first.
This could end up being the biggest immigration detention facility America has ever built. I'm Jason Allen in El Paso, Texas, with the people inside have been telling the few visitors who have been there. Next on the CBS Evening News.
A regular season for the history books. It wraps up tomorrow night for the Valkyries. Golden State will take on the Minnesota Lynx, the top team in the WNBA, and you can watch it all here, right here on KPIX. Pre-game coverage, it starts at 4:30. If the Valkyries win, they will clinch the 6th seed in the playoffs. A loss would drop them down to the 8th spot and set up a rematch with Minnesota. All right, the soccer world will have their eyes set on Levi Stadium next year as they will host several FIFA World Cup matches. FIFA. Now looking to catch the action in person, you can buy tickets, but they won't be easy to get and they won't be cheap. FIFA fans with a Visa, credit, or prepaid card can begin registering for the FIFA pre-sale draw. Tickets for group stage matches will start at $60 and climb all the way to nearly $7,000 for exclusive seats for the final match, and fans will be selected at random to have the chance to purchase tickets. Someone in San Francisco can definitely afford World Cup tickets now. There is no winner in California's $358 million Mega Millions jackpot yesterday, but a ticket worth $2.26 million was bought at Miss Q's Convenience on Washington Street in Chinatown. That's right. The ticket, it matched 4 numbers, missing only the Mega Ball. So the jackpot for the Mega Millions, it goes up to $381 million, and that next drawing is on Friday. Finally tonight, meet Checkers. He's a baby pot-bellied pig now available for adoption at the Peninsula Humane Society and SPCA. I know, you're hungry. The 17-pounder got his name for his black and white coloring. He even has a heart on his back. The Humane Society says he will grow to be about 100 pounds. Wow. He's going to need a home with a yard to dig, run around, play, and dig again.
Pigs are very social and they're very smart. So we call it enrichment, like little puzzle feeders are good for him, or ball pits. They have that rooting behavior, a natural behavior where they dig down, foraging for foods and things. So that will all keep him very happy.
Aw, the Humane Society says before you adopt him, make sure your city doesn't have rules against owning pigs. Oh, that would be a good thing to check out first. CBS Evening News is next on KPIX. Local news continues on our streaming service, CBS News Bay Area. We're back here in 30 minutes with CBS News Bay Area at 7. Someone take home Checkers.